Hello.
Hi there. Welcome to Evolving View, real spiritual talk, unfiltered, as you can see. I love it. So, yeah, today I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, and I'll start with Lauri Sheffer. Hi, Lauri.
Hey everybody, I'm Lauri Sheffer. I am a Onion shamanic practitioner and a medium. Call me an evidential medium, a psychic medium. Actually, I blend the two. I call myself a shamanic medium.
Awesome. And how about Miss Annette Green is here with us tonight. Hi there, Annette.
Hi, hello, I'm Annette, and I call myself spiritual intuitive. I'm a certified Kundalini yoga and trauma-informed yoga therapy teacher. I'm a, I guess you would call a self-empowerment workshop creator. I create workshops for self-empowerment, and I am a writer.
Awesome. Amazing. And thank you there, Annette. And hi, LA, Lauri Albert.
LA. Hi, my name is Lauri Albert. I am a spiritual medium. I am an intuitive teacher. I'm a manifestation author and podcast host and certified meditation teacher with David G. And I love doing all of this stuff. And as you can probably tell, I love to talk. So being on the Evolving View is like perfect.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you, LA.
And who are you, Theon?
Thank you. And Melanie is on the road, so she may pop in and out and maybe show us some of the beautiful scenery she is enjoying right now. But for now, I'm Theon. I'm intuitive medium, intuitive development, intuitive development instructor, and the founder of Evolve Me. So
Hey.
I'm very excited about tonight. We're going to talk about some of my favorite things. So very excited about that. And first, I kind of wanted to start off up, and there is we have someone here in the waiting room that is new. So they're going to join us, and they're one of our audience members.
Oh, good.
So that's going to be pretty exciting. We'll wait for, I guess, Steph to join us.
Good.
But yeah, so we're going to be talking about some pretty awesome stuff. We're going to be talking about our clairvoyance. And do you know all of your clairs? As I always got when I used to go on these meetup groups, right? And you know, we had people come in, and it was like where I would like randomly read people, and you know, everybody was always like, yeah, I'm you know, I'm really in touch with all of my clairs. And I'm like, I don't even know what clairs are at the time. And I mean, I still kind of don't. I know what I do. I just don't, you know, I get it all mixed up sometimes. I'm like, is it clairaudient, you know, sentient, all of those things. So maybe Lauri Albert, maybe you can list off all the clairs.
Oh, absolutely. And this is right up my alley. I hate to say it that way because what I do is when I teach, this is what I teach. So it's so much fun. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, what I should do is, I guess, I'll list them and then we can talk about them individually. Okay, so the first one that everybody knows about is clairvoyance. That's clear seeing. Okay. And then there is clairsentience, and that is clear feeling, and that is through your solar plexus. Okay. Then there's all kinds of other clairs, right? There's a whole bunch of them. There's clairaudience, which is clear hearing. There's clairalience, which is clear smelling. There's claircognizance. I'm telling you, there's a ton, right? Claircognizance, which is clear knowing, and clairgustance, which is clear tasting. So how much fun is that? I mean, there's so many, and there's just many to be that you can work with. And that's the fun part, you know? So anyway, I don't want to take up all the space, but How interesting is that? There are many ways that we can connect to spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny. I think we all kind of had this conversation before, about, what do you utilize, when you're giving, giving a reading, or what do you utilize most? So I'm going to kind of bring it around to the panel here. And I will start with you, Annette. What do you utilize the most?
I utilize my intuition. Which Claire is at?
Well, psychic would be claircognizance.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I really just utilize my intuition when I'm working with people, and just kind of do what I feel guided to do from moment to moment based on how things are going.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's how we should do it. That's a good practitioner.
Right? Exactly. You just kind of, you don't necessarily focus on one specific Claire. You just you feel into it, I think, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When you're starting out, right, you are often like asked to identify the Claire and to go with that. I mean, and now I had to look at my list of the Claires, and it was so funny because I mean, I can, they're almost the same as our senses, right? And being a 7th and 8th grade, teacher, I know to teach the senses. So I use them all and they blend. And I think that when we're talking from a mediumship perspective, the psychic does come into it or the intuitive does come into it because the information is coming in at this point from all sorts of different channels. I mean, and all together. And at times they come in so close that I can feel them. Right. It's like they put a layer almost over me, or sometimes it feels like they're in me, and they come in that way too. So the more you practice, the more you train, the more you hone your craft, I think it gets to the point that things just flow very quickly, and you can't go, oh, that was definitely claircognizance. No, that was clairaudience. I definitely heard it over here. I mean, it gets to the point that it just, you're so busy doing it that you forget to identify what it is.
Yeah, and you don't really need to, right? I mean, you just, as long as you are getting the messages, right? But it's good to know what your strong ones are,
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting. They kind of unfold as you go through this, that sort of training and things like that. I know I focused a lot on I'm very visual, and in fact I love the visuals that they're very clear for me always, and and as I kind of grew in my practice, and I always call it like 4D surround sound. So I'm like feeling it, hearing it, seeing it, smelling it, and all of these things on any given reading. In fact, it depends really on sometimes it really depends on the person, sometimes they project, certain energies around them that I would say like kind of ping certain players. But again, it's really about getting comfortable with one, just that connection, and then everything sort of just kind of comes after a bit. But yeah, you're right. In training, people focus on, okay, which one am I utilizing? But you end up being, once you're fully in spirit, connected with spirit, it's really just kind of all comes to you, right?
I do find this instinctual thing in me because I was originally trained to move my head in different directions for each Claire.
Oh, wow.
And so it's really cool because clairvoyance, my thing will be up to here. And you'll see me do it sometimes. I'll just put it up to here, like I'm seeing with my mind right here, right? And then you have clairaudience, and I'll tilt my ear up. So
oh my
I
gosh.
can hear. And then for tasting, that's just something that just comes in. And then the scent, you'll see me in a session sometimes go, I smell perfume. Ooh, that's a strong one, you know. I feel like that. And then feeling, I tilt my head down and I'll look towards my stomach. And it was so ingrained in me in my initial training that I still find to this day. And it does help me to, you know, it's just little things. And now it's such a part of me, I don't even think I know what I'm doing.
Well, I have to tell you, when I first started out, I thought, I mean, you know, when you're a newbie, you know nothing, right? And this is why I teach it, because I really, at the very, very beginning, I didn't have anybody to help me figure anything out, right? So I never thought I was a medium, because I didn't at that time. I didn't see, I thought that clairvoyance was, and mediumship for that matter, was seeing full-bodied apparitions. Right. And that's not the case at all. Right. Well, I mean, not necessarily at all, but you know, so once I started to learn, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, when you see a shadow, that's clairvoyance. When you close your eyes and see like a picture in your head, that's clairvoyance. And I didn't know any of that. Right. So I thought, oh my gosh, wow, this is like, what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, it has to be tangible. Like, you have to
Yeah.
feel it out, and
You know, and I was so blown away by that, because I thought it had to be, you know, like seeing it, the full body apparition. Have any of you really ever seen? I have never seen a full body apparition. I've never seen it.
You know, I have, but I don't know if it was really in my mind. You know, the time I saw the woman in my back seat, you know, and
So
you know, and when I pulled into the driveway, you know, because I went to turn around and suddenly I'm coming out and there's a woman in my back seat,
oh
and
my
that's
God.
when I said, "You need to go." I mean, there she was, straight up, you know. And it felt like an apparition.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh,
Yeah.
but most of the time, people ask that question. I don't know about you guys, but people ask all the time, "Are you really see them?" You know, I said, "Well, they put pictures in my head.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, they're putting pictures in my head." And sometimes with the feeling, for instance, and also the other thing I learned that I still use is the masculine and feminine. Not so much anymore. Masculine and feminine show up on a different side. So therefore, the maternal and paternal, when I was originally reading, would show up on different sides, and that's how you sort of identified. I don't use that one much anymore, but that was definitely a helper to me in being able to identify.
yeah,
Interesting.
and you know, it's funny is you know, for me as a child, I mean, I would like I've said before, I would see my grandfather all the time, and he was definitely tangible. I remember smelling him. He, you know, he would get very close to me when we would talk, and I could even see like you know, the strands of hair coming down from his face and things like that. So I would see that a lot as a kid. As I got older, I think that changed, right? Where I wasn't as well. One, I shut that down for a while, but for now, I do see sometimes if I'm at home, I will see like just transient spirits, like just pass through, like you always like the corner of your eye or something like that. My son does it too. It's really strange. Like I can see them for a brief second, or orbs. Do you see orbs a lot?
Yeah.
Like I'll see that, and so it really depends on one, if I'm not looking for it, because that's when they always come. And,
right.
and two, like you know, how open is my state? Like I remember I had gone on a trip to Portland. Actually, Melanie was there. And Julie Starr, one of our other practitioners, and I are, you know, very, very close friends. In fact, we speak telepathically a lot. So
love that.
And it was interesting. We've known each other for almost 2 years, and finally had seen each other in person for the first time. And it was almost like, I don't know what it is, but we're like conductors or something for each other, because we were and she'll tell the story too. It's really strange how I can see her aura very like as plain as day. And well, she's like a magnet for spirit activity, but like, I could see orbs going around her and everything like that. I don't know. I'm usually not one to like just see things. When in fact I need glasses, so I'm pretty much. But with her, it was like everything was super bright. And I wonder, wouldn't that be interesting? I would love to, be with you guys in person and see how much that energy. I mean, we have such great energy now. Could you imagine if we were in this room? That would
Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
That's so crazy.
It does make a difference when you're in person. There is a difference. I mean, we do great work through the internet, but to be in person is just a whole nother thing.
And I want to just say that, we've been on here for about 20 minutes. And the reason why we all know each other is because of evolveme.com. And we are all practitioners, along with many, 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 many other people on evolveme.com. So if you're curious about it, go check it out. It is really, really cool. And it is very, very high vibrational. So I'll just say it that way, right? So go check it out. So.
And what I love about the community is that we all really rally around each other, and real extremely supportive. There's no competition, and it's all about helping not just our clients but helping each other. And it does seem like a silly thing to do to try to put together all these energies, but I mean, look at look at what it produced. I mean, I just love talking to you guys, and every conversation we have is exactly like this. It's like we can sit on here for hours just talking about, experiences. And just, like,
but I was thinking, getting back to mediumship, like when I think one of the core lessons before even the clairs is to raise your vibration, because that's what you sort of just brought up, Bayan, is the idea of like, it's really important, because when I was first starting out, monkey mind does not work well as a medium, right? You have to control your monkey mind. You really do. You got to get rid of it. And we're the best. So, like I learned a skill to take me, Lauri, and that take me all the way back, right? So it's like I'm sort of in a room where I can sort of see myself, but I'm away. And it's a skill. And that's where, meditation, that's where also using high vibration music and different things like that really helps. Because the higher you get your vibration and the more centered you are in yourself, the more clear the messages will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is really important. Even more so than typical intuitive work, right? Because you're really connecting. It's like soul to soul. So you really have to be, and I wouldn't say focused, but open. To it, because it is. Talk about monkey mind. This is me. Always. And so I really do have to, get into that state before a mediumship reading, because what is so important is that, you're giving somebody closure, connecting them with a loved one, so that is such a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And for I know for us mediums, that is all joking aside, first and foremost, important. So maybe we could talk about what you do to prepare. So I'll start with you, Lauri Albert, LA.
Yeah.
What do you do to prepare for mediumship reading?
Well, basically, I mean, it's interesting because it's very simple, yet it's so super important. What I do to prepare is I open up my chakras. I start by actual meditating. So I'll meditate for a few minutes, just quieting my mind. And then I open up my chakras, and then I'll open up my chakras, and then I call in my guides. Right. And then the most important thing, and this is just me, but I feel like for me, the most important thing that I do before reading or do any spirit work, doing stuff like this, doing any work of spirit, the last thing I say is, all right, spirit, I give up this entire reading or show or whatever to you, right? So basically, I say, and you guys are going to laugh when you hear me say this because you guys know I like to talk, right? I always say the last thing I say before I start is, and whatever comes out of my mouth, please have it be for everyone's highest and greatest good, and have it be what is supposed to come out of my mouth. Because if I don't say that, it kind of takes some pressure off, because I'll just keep talking, as you guys well know. I've hijacked many a conference call, haven't I? But it's really interesting. Now, getting into like a mediumship reading, though, what's fascinating is that as I'm opening up my chakras, what will happen a lot of times is right then, that's when I start to feel the spirits come to me. And I'll start, because I am mostly like, my dominant clair is clairsentience. So clairsentience is the one that's in your solar plexus. It's your intuition. It is your gut instinct, that whole thing, right? And so basically that's where like I started to feel it. And because of that, I didn't know I was a medium when I was younger. I mean, I knew that I had stuff going on, but I had no idea, right? Because when you think of a medium, those who don't know, when you think of a medium, you automatically think of clairvoyance and you think of seeing and stuff, right? But clairsentience is what I started out as. So what happens to me when I'm opening up is then I'll start feeling all the feels of all the spirits that are going to be coming through. So it's really kind of interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And, I mean, I love that you do the chakras. I do too. And I try to tune them in. Like I will, have them sync to whatever vibration the person is coming into, so
Right.
that we're more connected. I love that, because you don't hear that often, that people, I like to spin my chakras, especially in meditation, but there's so much you can do with your chakras, right?
Oh, yes.
So that's very interesting. And what about you, Lauri Sheffer?
Well, I was going to say, it's in the shamanic practice that I learned, the Andean shamanic practice. We don't do the chakras per se. That's not, but it is the three centers. It's the mind, the heart, and the body.
Mm-hmm.
So I do with my mesa, I will do a prayer, and I do this thing where to the upper world, and I do this whole breath thing with that. And then with my heart, I do the same thing. And it also upper world, middle world, lower world, right? So I will do that in each one. I do for each center, and that's how I'm opening and doing prayers around that center, and at the same time being able to connect with all the different directions and all that. So that's how it works. But interesting, in person, I've had a in-person practice for a long time, a number of years, and part of my prep is because I was working full time, I would see clients on Saturday mornings. I love to, part of my prep was actually setting up my room, and I would go around and because I have all my crystals in there, my massage tables in there, because I energy work and all those different things, and I would, what candle would you like me to use? Different rocks, different crystals, and that's my prep. That was my bringing in. That was the way I would do it, to be in alignment. And then I would, right before the person comes in, to bring in their energy. So because for me, I'm such a doer that sitting and meditating just doesn't work very well for me. So that is, and now what I do on the computer is some of the same things, but I also, because my space here gets very cluttered, because now my purple room is just for my work. That's all I do there. So I have to take care of my business, set everything aside, make sure I clear the room, because I do anyway, but it's different energy. So those are the things I do.
That is so fascinating, Lauri. Oh my God, so fascinating. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, especially for those who, like Lauri and myself, can't really sit still, right? And that is an excellent practice, and very different too, which is like from let's say not an Andean shamanic practitioner, right? So and still connects to spirit the same. It really is a very different method, but still gets you right to the same place, right? Yeah.
Now,
And what
and then you're a shamanic practitioner as well. Do you do some of those things, or do you do it different?
Well, it's funny because I do kind of incorporate a lot. So I do, for me, I will, one, I like to open myself up to spirit, and that's like, doing the sitting in your power, but it's also connecting my energy with theirs and their loved ones. So I will build a, and obviously not physical building, but like I'll I don't actually have a sphere, but I'll build a reading space for us to come in, and I invite their loved ones or spirit guides to come in. Whoever is here for their highest and best good can come into this space where we share energy, and a lot of it is a little bit of mix of both. Right. But I always have to prepare myself before the reading, for me to be open to hearing or connecting with that, the person that I'm reading, as well as their spirits, because I want to be respectful of, of what, of whatever information I'm going to channel for them. Right. So, it's a little mixture of both, and especially, I always feel it differently with if I'm about to give a reading to any given person. It can change a little bit. Depending on, I'll know already that, okay, this is going to be a serious one. This is going to be something that is right. And so I will put extra, effort, protections, depending on what I'm feeling. And I know you all do that too. And so that can be difficult, especially when you're not in the right space.
Yeah.
So that's why I will give myself at least an hour before a reading to, really get myself prepared, especially if it's like a mediumship reading. But yeah. And what about you, Annette? I know you're a self-described medium, but you have a lot of intuitive, abilities about you. So do you have any preparation that you do for let's say a session with a client?
Well, it all depends. Lauri was saying something about the shamanism, and so if I'm working in that realm, then I do my sacred wheel and go around to the 4 directions and call in the beings, the keepers of the different directions, to be part of the ceremony or the meditation or whatever it is that we're doing. If I'm helping somebody with something in particular, to just call in, who we would need for that. And then, but a lot of times I don't do a whole lot of preparation per se. I just feel into it when I'm in the moment with it, and I talk, and I just talk from, I guess I would say, from my heart and my solar plexus, and I feel into what the person is feeling in a sense, but then when I begin to speak, I really speak more from a different place, and I can't really say what that different place is, but I'm told that, that all the time I'm not even sure of what I just said, but I can feel the power in it, and then they're like, wow, that was really helpful, or that was really powerful, and then I'm thinking, okay, what did I just say? So I don't.
You know what I just heard? I heard when you were talking, she's channeling through her higher self.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Oh my God, she's an amazing channel. Yeah, yeah.
That, exactly,
Yeah.
right? And it's coming from your higher self is what I heard. So yeah, that's really cool
That's
because
extraordinary.
having that connection with your higher self and acknowledging that is going to be really great for you too. And I mean, it already, does. Wow, that's awesome.
It's interesting because prayer, when you're opening, it depends on, Spirit guides me in this because some people feel uncomfortable with the prayer piece, but the prayer changes and it really has to do with who your divine is and how you perceive it is what comes through. And that is, I do weddings as well, and that's why I tell people as well. It's like I want to bring your version of God in. First of all, don't hire me if you don't want a spiritual wedding because it's a waste.
Yeah.
It's a waste. Just because I love all the pomp and circumstance of spirituality. I love doing the ceremony and those things. But even in sessions, it's like the prayer very much has to do with the individual. So I connect heart to heart, and then with the energy, and then I allow the prayer to come in. And the coolest thing is information starts immediately. It's like I'll be doing this prayer, and suddenly like the certain angel will come in, or this, this grandfather who, it's like they come in so fast. And you see me work, it's like, they come in so fast, it drives me, it's like, wait, I'm not right. Wait, you're going to make me mess up here, because I got my prayer going here. And so sometimes I have to stop and say, they're just coming in so fast. So we're just going to say a quick thank you, and we're going to get moving.
I love it. Oh, we have a ton of messages, just to let you all know.
Yeah, let's hear some questions.
I have a lot of questions, and we have some from, here's one from Cheller. It says, I'd love to hear how you all keep your vibration high when you're going through hard times in life yourself. I often find myself narrow focused on in those times. Yes. Oh my gosh. Are you just speaking because we're all going through that right now? It's like I was just talking to this about this with Rachel. It's like Mercury retrograde just ended yesterday, and I think we all need to clear because it happens. It's the and it's funny. This morning I woke up and heard one of my guides say it's the ebbs and flows, of spirituality, and that's exactly what it is. And I'm gonna put it to Annette. What do you do when you feel your vibe, want to keep your vibration high? What do you do to do that, especially on those hard times?
Well, a lot of times in the hard times, I actually feel the hard times and I don't try to change it. I just try to be with it and notice it and allow it, because what I've learned is that trying to clear it for me is more problematic. It's like just being with it, because everything that arises, I believe, is for a purpose. And so it's not always about, even though sometimes I'm feeling like, oh no, I don't like this feeling. But when I can settle myself and just breathe into the feeling, whatever it is, and there's a person called Matt Kahn. I don't know if people know him, but he has a book that says, whatever arises, love that.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful for me, because what I've learned is that whatever arises is requesting a healing when it's a feeling that is heavy or sad or dark or whatever it is. And so to just breathe into that and allow it and give it space to express itself, so that then it kind of clears out as I accept it. But if I try to block it out, then it's a struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to, that was absolutely beautiful. I do want to point out that it was very cute. You had somebody peeking through the door. It was a real person. It wasn't a spirit. And it reminded me, do you remember that video where the guy is on, he's on like a BBC interview and his wife is like
trying to get the kid to come back out.
Yeah, I was hoping that would happen here, but it didn't.
That was so cute.
But no, that was beautifully put, and absolutely, Annette. I want to say that is the most important thing for me that I have to focus on is allowing it, finding the message within it, and healing it, but not to run away from it and disregard it because there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Like, when you try not to focus on the negative stuff, it's still there, and it's going to creep in, and it's about, like when they always say, like, embrace the dark just as much as the light. You're right, it's absolutely that. It's you do have to feel through whatever pain, whatever issue that you're having, right?
Because it's triggering so much, right? And it's, but also I think, the recent word that you hear thrown around is spiritual bypassing, and that the idea that, well, I'm going to keep my vibration high, I'm going to stay in spirit, and sometimes, what we have to, for me, I'm human. I have human emotions, and I may have lived many lifetimes in many different forms, but in this lifetime, I'm human. And that means I have all the things of humanity, my good moments, my bad moments, and all that's in between. And for me, that's really important to remind myself of that. I'm not very good always at allowing my emotions to come out for others to see. And so that's been part of my teachings lately, to just allow myself to have a bad moment. I never have a bad day because I don't believe in bad days. I believe there are moments, I say this at school, as a teacher, I used to tell my staff this, because it'd be like, oh, we're going to have a terrible day because he was such a monster yesterday. And I would go, no, we don't. We don't have days. No, we may have a few bumpy roads, but no, we're not doing that. And I wouldn't allow it. I would not allow it. I was like bossy. No bad days allowed in my classroom. But yeah, you've got, and when it is, there's a reason for it. As a special ed teacher working with kids with emotional issues and on the spectrum, we talk a lot about triggers, and we all have triggers, and we all have a past, and we have things that may push our buttons. And that's why the other day my buttons were all being pushed. So I took myself outside. Like there's just something going on in my life that couldn't like. Oh, I'm like, come on, you're helping yourself. This is not where that. Just put it over here. So I went outside and I gardened, and I was in the garden, and my mom's on the other side, and I was like, Ma, I need your help with this. It's a family thing. Ma, and then I put my hands in dirt, Pachamama, beautiful Mother Earth, and it took. I was outside all day, so it took a while.
Oh my
But
gosh.
afterwards, you know what? I was able to let it go, and someone else brought the issue to my attention the next day, and I says, I'm sorry. I gave it to both my mother and to Pachamama. I'm done with that.
That's great.
Oh my God, I love that.
That's so important.
It's so funny. It does feel like, I've been talking to a lot of people. It does feel like this has been happening a lot to people lately. Just yesterday, I for the first time in years, I literally cried. Like I was like, I needed to.
Yeah.
And it was definitely healing. Like, sometimes just like Lauri, I build things up so much. I take in so much, and then sometimes you just need to release it, no matter who you are. It is something that that nobody is immune to, and everybody needs that. Everybody needs to feel within these times, because through that really does create growth. There's and I hate to say it, like, it almost feels cliche. There's always a lesson in it, but there is. That's the only time really that I can ever think of that I've ever learned anything was through making it through some difficulties. So,
well, you know what I think the first important thing is to do, though, is to recognize what's happening, because and it's really been weird, and I can only use this last several weeks as the best example, because I didn't even know what was going on with me. Things were just happening. And I was like, wait, what? And I would react and I would do this and that and whatever, everything was going on. It seemed like all this stuff was going on. And it took me a while. It took me almost a week of being kind of nutty to like recognize that there was some stuff happening that I needed to recognize, right? So as soon as I stopped myself, and as soon as I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not exactly sure why all this is going on, but I think I'm just going to take a step back. And guess what? For like a week and a half, I didn't do any spirit work at all. I mean, not, I still did readings and stuff like that and did classes, all of that stuff. But I mean, like, if I didn't feel like meditation was going to work for me right then, I allowed myself. I didn't make myself wrong for not meditating that day. Ooh, I mean, especially as a meditation teacher, that's bad. But you know what? It's all okay because, like Lauri said, we are humans. And we have to understand that and the other thing I wanted to say was, it's really fascinating. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Tell me if you have. It seems like it's practitioners. It's spiritual practitioners, light workers that seem to be having the spiritual kind of issues right now. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah.
It's not just me and it's not just, there's like so many of us having these weird energetic issues, let's just say.
Absolutely.
Really fascinating,
Yeah,
so
and what's funny is because of this community, we get to really talk about it firsthand, right?
yeah.
And it's funny is I was talking about it with a couple people, and it's like oh, I'm really going through this. I'm like, yeah, me too. Everybody is
Yeah.
they always say like psychologists have psychologists to talk to.
Right.
And the beauty about us all being close is that we can say those things, and we can say, I'm really having a hard time. Like,
Yeah.
What can I do? And it's like, it does feel reassuring that this is a collective energy thing.
Yeah.
And but it does happen, right? It does happen. And you can be many years in the business and still like what Lauri's saying, you didn't even realize it, because what you're doing is you're holding space for so many people that that you almost forget that you are actually human.
Yeah.
So it's like this point where you're like, okay, wait, I'm now I have a moment to think, and now the feelings come rushing in, right?
Yeah.
And it is, that's why it's good to take that break.
Yeah. And it's so what's the other second sort of point there, what was fascinating is that Mercury was coming to the end of its retrograde period, which I just got to be honest, some people don't get affected by that energy at all. I don't know enough about astrology to understand why I get so affected by it, but I get affected by it. That's just who I am. Some of my friends are like, oh, please, not me, right? But I could feel this shift starting to happen on, I think it was Friday. I started coming back into myself again. And I'm like, oh, let's, because I'm planning another course coming up. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, okay, I can feel myself coming back out of it. So it felt really good. And just recognizing that, just recognizing it all. And not being so hard on ourselves. I mean, Cheller's question was absolutely valid for all of us, so amazing. So that was a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. And and just as Lauri's saying, don't be hard on yourself. That just makes it even worse. There's no reason to. Everybody goes through it, so just understand that.
Yeah.
The hardest thing is, we all have lives. We all have stories, and in our stories, there have been moments that have not been so great for some of us more than others, but for all of us, we all have stories, and there are things. I think everybody has stuff that they're not so happy about in their life, or things that and that's part of being human. And I think that that's part of what I believe helps me to be a better medium, a better practitioner, is because through that, because I did my own healing and am doing my own healing, it doesn't end. And working with my stuff and trying to be humble and honest with my own humanity and my own story. I think that something happens when I'm sitting with someone. There's more of a connection that I'm able to make, and it's able to come in. And I mean, I try so hard not to be judgmental. And when I get there, and that was part of what was going on with me that day I had to go outside, is I don't like it when I go there. I start to judge another person's behavior, and and get them, I'm like, what are you doing? Get off with this, And I think that is what helps. And if we're, myself as a practitioner, I feel it's imperative that I'm honest with my own story, and good, bad, and the ugly, that I allow myself to see it. And then I'm able to transmute that, ugly and bad, and transmute it to something, still rough, but at least I can transmute it now, and I can use it.
Yeah.
Right. I love that.
Yeah. That's so beautiful.
It wasn't the darkness, we could not identify the light, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And when you always running to the light, the darkness will just get more and more thick.
But you know what I think? The important thing
I always
there.
think of a person, running to the light, and their shadow just gets bigger.
Yeah.
That's really the if you want to put that analogy, that's, I don't know. I told you I'm visual. So.
But you know what's really fascinating about that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, life comes from the womb, which is the darkness. The soil is dark, but from the soil, the plants grow through the soil. So the darkness has a very powerful place and a necessary place.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who is scared of I don't know, recognizing those shadow places? What would you say to somebody, to a client that was having trouble and looking at their shadow selves? How would you suggest that somebody deal with that or recognize it?
I go right to swim lessons when I was a swim instructor, right? The very first thing, and it sounds, I know it's just a cliche sort of, but you have to learn how to float. And it's like it's in steps, it's in one step at a time.
Yeah.
So like with soul retrievals, you don't retrieve every aspect of every trauma at one time. You just start with one thing, and you work on that. You work with what's comfortable, and you start there, and you only have to go into the water as far as you're willing, and that's the key. When you push a kid to try to swim, or when you push someone to do something that they're petrified of, right? Like, if you're afraid of jumping out of a plane, and someone says, come on, I just bought us tickets, let's go parachute. And you're like, no, I don't think so. Oh, come on, you're going to do it. Don't tell me what I can do,
Right.
I'll tell you what, we're going to build blocks up 5 feet. I'll jump off of that.
Exactly. But hopefully you'll build up to that in 30 years. But but you're right. No, that absolutely it makes sense. I mean, you don't want to push anybody into any kind of mold, like, oh, well, I do this and this is, it's really about forgiving yourself, for feeling that way, because we always go to that negative place with it. Oh, well, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Or what? All of these things that take that out. And I always try to live in gratitude, be thankful, on those times for the things that that I'm fortunate for. And I try to, it's not going to change it all right there, but to, sort of not, list out or focus on those things. Okay, I know this is not going right now, but, I have a loving family, or I have this, and, something that you can say, just to kind of get you out of that, that spiral, right?
Yeah.
Of, this can't go right, because then, what happens is that, just like manifesting, you kind of putting that out there, like, we always use those words, I can never do this, or I always do that. And,
Right.
and putting that on yourself is
Love that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. So I always try to say, try to find the lesson in whatever it is, and also try to balance what you're feeling versus that gratitude, and and focusing on that lesson that needs to be learned. So.
Hey, I have a question. Because I'm restreaming to my Facebook and YouTube page too, right? And so Tasha Minska says, I have a question. Regarding Mother's Day, do mothers and grandmothers come through stronger on this day?
Oh, I love this one.
I know, that's a good question, Tasha.
Yes. Okay. Well, do you mind if I?
Yeah, go.
So, a big part of the reason, my mother, who I was very close with, passed away. So I'm not a huge fan of Mother's Day because of it. So that's always big for me. But it's funny how every time. Melanie's coming in. Either her birthday or Mother's Day, she always seems to come in, and and yesterday I felt her stroke my hand.
Oh, that's
and,
nice.
So I listen. She's one of my very active guides. So I do talk to her a lot. But then there's those times. It's Mother's Day, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, and she definitely comes in stronger. I don't typically, I don't know that it's about Mother's Day. It's about the feeling that I have at that point, that I'm pulling her in more. And so yeah, I would say, like, if that's, let's say an occasion, her birthday, or, something like that. Yeah. It definitely comes in much stronger. And if she's talking more about spirit, like, let's say, do mothers typically come in stronger? I don't know. I mean, it depends. A spirit is, just just a regular person without a body. So they're going to be very much how they were in life. If they're not communicative in life, then they won't be so much right at the beginning when they pass, right?
But I'm sorry, but that's a jump fan too. When I was training with Tony Stockwell, he was teaching us how to envision. I think, Lauri, you've done this too, right? Of what they are after they've been actualized. So where they're at now. So because their journey doesn't end when they leave the body, that they continue on the journey. Like one of the big ones I'll get, you'll have someone sit with you and say, is my mom still angry at me? Or she didn't run into dad up there, did she? Because she absolutely hates dad. And you'll
yeah.
And I loved when I was doing the work around, okay, let's take a look at mom's energy right now. And bam, I'll get the most amazing things. And she'll be doing things in this lifetime. That's one of the things people say, well, she hated that. I'm sorry, but she doesn't now.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't like butterscotch before, but now she loves it, or whatever it is. And because the growth doesn't stop just because they crossed over. And that was, so it's funny because that was like when I started to, work with that particular teacher about that, it really opened. And that's where I found myself being more connected to soul work, was that sort of thing. But how they do come into us, though, is how the person knew them, right? So it's like that's where you're making that connection with us, with the personality, like the bossy grandma that walks into the house and wants to know why you didn't clean your house and why you're not using her recipe. She'll come in with that vibes because that's the vibration that she had with you.
Absolutely.
So what do you say to someone when they say, oh my gosh, she's probably mad at me on the other side because I didn't do XYZ, whatever. How do you answer that? Just sort of.
Well, for me, and very much much like what Lauri's saying. I don't think that people, well, not think, but not in my experience have I, seen people, depending on how soon they've passed. People are really starting to, once they've passed, they're at a state of like, okay, one, you're kind of trying to feel your environment, two, you're sort of, I definitely feel that people grow. And I've had a lot of experiences, especially with one of a family member that died very tragically and, had to sort of grow from there. And now is a much different person in that sense. But oh my gosh, I actually forgot what that question was.
Oh, well, how do you deal with it when somebody says, is she still mad at me about blah, 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 that I didn't do it the way she wanted? Like, she wanted to be buried in the green dress, but you put her in a red one. How do you think that?
One, I've never had the experience where a spirit was mad about something like that. I'll say that. But I do leave it up to the spirit to respond to that because what I come to know, and maybe you all can kind of say that as well. Hi,
Melanie.
But that's typically think about what they've just gone through.
Yeah.
Things like that are not as important. And I've not experienced one person that says, "Oh, you should have put me in that red dress," or that's like they're just excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. And what about you? What about you, Lauri?
I just got to jump and say, so I don't know who I was reading for, and if you're out there, you'll know it was. I saw the person, the loved one, packing their bags. Right. It was very funny, and then they got to the Rainbow Bridge and they left their bags. And they went, and it was a woman, and she says, I don't need the baggage.
Yeah. Oh my God, how I love that. Oh, Lauri, that's amazing. I love that.
I love that. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Amazing. And what about you, Melanie Rose, who's on the road, on location?
I am on location. Hi. I was just driving with a total primigrin on my face through the mountains. It's so beautiful. God, it's like so nice. What is the question?
So you have a client that comes in and says, my mom really wanted to be buried in the green dress, but I put her in the red one. Is she mad at me?
Oh my goodness. I think that's so human, earthly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I've never had anyone come through and talk about any of that stuff, like anything. It's more like Stan said, they're just happy to see you, and they're, the messages that have come through with me have always been like, I know there were arguments, there were disagreements, and they're just fine with how it worked out. You know what I mean? Like I've never ever had any sort of upset spirit, because what would be the use? You know what I mean?
Oh.
I did get I had a friend of mine who lost her partner, and it was literally like a day or afterwards, and she had contacted me, and she didn't and he, doggone him, I'm driving to work, and he comes in, and I don't even really know the guy, and he comes in, and he's like, I want you to set an appointment with her immediately. I have some things I need to tell her. I got some business to take care of. and I'm like, I mean, he's going to town, and so I get to where I work, and I work for a school where I can't really afford to be emotionally attached to someone on the other side of the moment. And I said, look, I promise you, I will call her, and I will. So I did right away. I said, see, we did it. And now he had just passed, and he had a list for me. Like he brings in these pipes, and and very vivid. Shows me. I says, there's these broken pipes, and she said, oh yes, he was about to fix that. And I says, the wrench, and so and he want so, and it was like one of the best breathing. It was amazing because he had these things he wanted to take care of, and he had me on the hook because he already knew, that she and I were very good friends and that we had a relationship, and he milked it for all it was worth. And he told me where things were, what he wanted her to get and do, and because there was unfinished business here that he needed to take care of before he could be comfortable leaving her.
Yeah.
And so I had not experienced anything like that in my life up to that point as a medium, and he was all business with me. And then he got emotional later, I read for a couple of times,
Yeah.
but the first one was about the business. Because he dropped out of a heart attack, and it was immediate, and there was no time to deal with anything, and that was a mind blower. That one blew my mind. Do you ever do that, guys, when you're reading and there's this piece of you go, oh man,
Yeah.
holy crap, and what am I doing?
Yeah.
This is,
Oh yeah, like you're almost sitting there aside from yourself and watching the whole thing happen. You're like, this is crazy, right? And amazing crazy, but just like dumbfounded. I want to actually, before I start saying anything, I wanted to hear from Annette. Any experience like that with you?
No experiences like that for me in terms of other people, but there was someone who did some energy work for me around my significant other that passed away, and as you guys were talking, it reminded me of when one time he wrote in the clouds, always with you, and he was saying that there was just like a million times over, just the clouds, always with you, always with you, always with you, always with you. So I always have that visual in my head of always with you.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh my God.
Wow. And isn't that funny how you were, it's funny because I don't know why I always feel your energy, Annette, but I had this funny voice in my head that was like, I reminded her. So I don't know if that's him, but definitely sounds like it. But and it's funny because I always feel pushed to pointing out your intuitive ability. But yeah, it's really a beautiful thing, especially when you feel you stay connected with that loved one. One thing as a medium that I think we all have had people pass, knowing that person is still with us, and and that's why I think that's why it's important for us to want to pass that forward. I know that was for me. That was my driving force. Is I never want anybody to feel the way I felt for those years after a tragic loss like that, and to be able to sort of give somebody some closure. That's what I mean by responsibility. It's huge responsibility, and I mean, just look at the what we've all have had in our lives. And to be able to pay that forward, I think is really beautiful. So.
And it's really fascinating. I keep thinking back to when my father passed away, in terms of, wow. I mean, it's just really interesting because I had never had any. Well, I mean, I knew that I had some kind of gift going on, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it, right? So 23 years ago. Right. This is when everything started for me. My father was in the hospital, and he was about to pass. And they always said, and I had heard this from other people, about how if you're in the room when somebody passes, it's like extraordinary. It's like a beautiful, like it's a gift that they give you because they're allowing you to be there during this thing. Right. So he passes away, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling like the sadness, obviously, because my father just passed away. Right. But this was my very first, one of my very first experiences of this. I happened to be sitting right here, and I remember my don't forget, I wasn't clairvoyant, I was clairsentient, right? So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I was just guided to look up in the corner. Oh, here. I was guided to look up in the corner of the room. And I knew my dad was there. I knew he was in the corner of the room and he was saying, Lauri, take care of your mom. Because my mom, I mean, you guys know me, right? If you know me, my mother's like more than me, right? She was more than me, right? So the flailing of the arms and the whole thing, like, oh my God, So I said, Dad, I got this, right? And we were just talking about how comforting it is to have that, and to have that sort of closure. It wasn't quite closure, but it was there, and I knew that it happened, and no one can ever tell me that didn't happen, right? And that was like my beginning of like, holy crap, if I didn't realize this till later, but if I can feel so good about the fact that I knew he was in that corner, then oh my gosh, what can I facilitate so that other people can feel that same way? That and again, it's not necessarily closure, but and I didn't realize it at the time, but it's like, wow, so it was extraordinary. And you're talking about allowing or giving people that gift of comfort. That's the most that is the sole reason why I do what I do, so that we can help other people feel good.
Yeah, I think that's always been my biggest push is that like it makes me crazy because I want people to understand how close spirit is.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I get it. Like if you don't think about this stuff and you're like, well, yeah, I guess they're close, but like if you just open up, you know what I mean? You can feel, you can hear it. Like it's anyone, not just us. So that's always been like my biggest push to be like. I always say it's like a whisper away.
Yeah.
Yes. But,
So close.
Yeah.
My sister won't. So my entire family has strong abilities, and my sister says you just do your thing. You do your thing, right? She has no problem, but she knows that it's the potential. But she says, I just don't want it in this lifetime. She says, she says, my stuff, I got my stuff too much here. I don't want it. And she, and I respect that. And she says, don't tell me when, and I can't help it because sometimes my mother comes in and wants me to tell her stuff or things like that. But my sister says, don't read me. And I says,
mine too. Oh my God, I totally vibe with that.
Especially as like siblings, it can be hard. It's like because you can't help it. Sometimes you just know things, and but it is definitely interesting. So she's my biggest teacher when it comes to that. Really, my biggest teacher, and I respect you. You don't want it, okay?
Yeah.
And she'll drum up business for me, tell everybody about me, but she says, nope.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my siblings would never, have me read them. It's funny is they'll say, hey, do you know a good, intuitive? And I will point them there. And it's funny. Yeah, exactly. No, but it's funny is I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because
you're too close.
Me too.
Yeah.
I will wake up with information and I will, message them. Oh yeah, go check this and blah, 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 blah. And all of those things. But to sit down and do a full reading with a family member, it's I get emotionally attached, and that can be very difficult. So like, I can look at things for people, but I want them to see somebody that is completely,
there's that whole thing about hearing it from your siblings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially the youngest of 5. Nobody wants to hear from me.
Well,
Right.
Oh, I do, Theon.
I want to hear from you.
My sister said to me, this is funny because my sister said, well, I do have secrets. And then I'm like, oh, well, now I want to know. No, I don't really want to know. But I have to tell my story. So my youngest brother, he passed away in 2007, and he was, he he had died in an accidental drug overdose. So he lived an interesting life, but amazing guy. But when he was younger, there's 12 years between us. I worked in HIV then, and I had a lot of condoms and things, and I had lots of information. He's like, oh my God, he must have been like 13, 14 years old.
Wait, did you say you had a lot of condoms?
I did. I'm lesbian with condoms. Yes, a lot of them.
Just trying to make sure I heard that correctly.
I had
Sorry.
condoms because I know it's very, that would be completely, one time I had a party of all these women, my wife told me to hide the fishbowl because it was for work. I wasn't thinking, I put it behind the bathroom door, and all the women are going, oh, party favors, oh.
So this is the kind of party this is.
Now we know.
My brother
Now we know.
would call me up, in the middle of the night or things like this, and ask me the craziest questions. Oh, I got this girl here. I'm going, well, keep in your pants, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want to read my brother either. Now he's on the other side, I said, something still I don't want to know, but yeah, they, because I worked in the business, people would tell me stuff, and I'm going, I don't need to know that.
But you know what I love is when people they think you just know everything. They think like I came out as a medium, right? And I remember I was telling this lady, and it was somebody I knew, and she literally started stepping backwards, like I was going to put a hex on her or something. I don't know what she thought, but they some people just don't get it, and so they think that you know everything. And we don't.
I don't want to know.
I know. I agree. I don't want to know everything.
We're wearing panties or boxers.
Yeah, and we don't have X-ray vision.
Right. Right.
There is some random things though, but I have been out, and I will say this: I've been out, and I'll just glance at somebody, and I'll get a flash of a Craigslist ad.
Oh God.
Like one of those. And
I don't even want to. I know exactly.
I'm like, oh, but occasionally that happens where it's just there. It's not anything I look for. It just
Yeah.
No,
I'm like,
absolutely.
Right.
You get a flash of something,
Yeah.
and then you have to run. Just to let you know.
Your brain.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's interesting. And that I know you do work on people, with the different things you do. You must pick up information when you're working on people, right?
Yeah, sometimes I pick up more than others. But in terms of, actually reading them, sometimes I may get a strong sense of something, but mostly it's when I'm doing the hands-on work, which is the Tibetan cranial. It's really, I just know where to make the pressure points, and then they'll tell me later, when you did that, it cleared this, or when you did that, I felt this, or this thought went through my head, and then something shifted.
Yeah.
So it's more like that. It's not like I'm actually knowing something. I just know where to go to help release or to awaken something.
Yeah.
Perfect for what you do.
And because I never knew the names of clairs, but that's really that knowing, right? That's what you're
Claircognizance.
Yes. It's one of the clairs, but you're definitely utilizing that, right?
But it can also be the clairsentience too, because if your hands are being guided and you're feeling it.
Oh, sure.
That's the hard part. That's the difficult part. And
Well, it's a combination. It would be
sometimes I'll say, I'll be working with a client, and I'll say, I'm feeling, and I'm feeling that their hands are heavy. And so it's weird how information will come in.
Yeah.
And I love, because I'm a storyteller, I love bringing in like a story. There's so much story in a person's physique and in them. And, because like on Wednesday nights with Ann and I do the TikTok lives, right? It's like I might get 5 grandpas in a row, and so I'm going. So I go with the first thing, but because you could go, oh my God, how much of a man can you get? You know, but they are. So it's connecting with the energy and trying to get that energy. And that's where I try to go. So I'm not getting always, you know, a fishing boat or whatever.
She opens her window. She's like, it's getting hot in here. That's hilarious. I was just remembering.
Funny story. So I know I was different today. Usually I hate shopping, and I went with my wife to the mall because we need fancy clothes to go to a really nice wedding. And I usually, you know, hate being with her when she shops because she takes forever. She has to look at everything, and all I want to do is go sit somewhere and watch my phone, you know, and look at my phone. Today, it was her mom came in, and I felt her mom, and my wife is very petite, as was her mother. And suddenly, I'm like, and my wife is also very preppy, and her mother, I could feel her mother, because like I would care about clothes. And suddenly I go, hey, Deria, what about these? She goes, oh my God, I love those. And her mother started to help me to pick out clothes for her. I go, I think these are your mother's types of clothes. She says, yeah, they are. You know, and her mom was helping me, lovely clothes. And because her mom was styling. And it was like funny though. Her mom stayed with us the entire. We were in Ann Taylor, and so you know, the entire time we're in there, her mom was picking out clothes for her through me.
That is so much fun.
You should ask her to do the same.
That's awful nice. That's nice of her.
And how much did your mother spend?
It was my mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law.
Yeah, and even Daria's going, it had to be her mother because Daria doesn't like to spend that type of money. And Daria's like, oh, it's a lot of money. But my mom would really like these clothes. I said, yeah, she would. And so
And there you have it. That is so hilarious.
Because her mother said so.
her mother was, and so we're going home. Daria says, I think my mother's very happy I'm getting nice clothes again.
That's cute. That's so
And
sweet.
pick 'em.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, you know what would be interesting? I'm gonna next time I go shopping, I'm gonna just ask for any you know, wardrobe stylists that are in here. Like that would be amazing.
Yes.
Right?
I'm going to do that too, but I don't want my mother because my mother and I are two totally different. Like my mom was like my mom is Ann Taylor. I'm more like Free People. Do you know what I mean? It's totally different. So, but I want somebody to come with me shopping. That's a great thought.
Absolutely. Yeah, my mother and I really, I mean, that was like our biggest joke is that we definitely did not have the same aesthetic. And you know, she was the one that would look at things, and because it had a tag on it that was like, you know, Ann Taylor, something like that. Like she would, oh, but it's really nice, and it was horrible. I'm like, sometimes designers make bad things. You know, they don't. It's not always a win.
Right.
So.
That's
These
so
are definitely things I wouldn't have worn today, and I'm looking at them going, yeah, but they're really cute. You know, her mother was, and I would never argue with her mother. And by the way, her mother's first name was Mercedes, so that explains.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I love that.
That is great.
That's awesome.
It's
Wow.
great.
I knew a Mercedes, and yeah, that makes sense. They like the higher priced items.
That's
They have to
awesome.
live up to the name.
Do we have any other questions, Theon?
Yes, we had a ton, and I feel bad
what?
because it's my fault because the conversation's so good.
And before she reads that, everybody that's listening, we are all practitioners. We know each other because we are all practitioners on evolveme.com. So go check it out. It's like one-stop shopping for everything metaphysical. So did I say that right, Theon?
Absolutely.
Hey, do you guys like my shirt? Speaking of
Spirit,
see how
I
it
love
says,
that. There's spirit. There's
Really?
butterfly.
I think
What's
now
yours
we're all
say?
showing their boobs.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm like, why does this say boob?
It's not that kind of show.
And now we're into the unfiltered part of the show, friends.
And this is for adults only now. So
I can't get to any more questions, but let's talk about physical mediumship. And I think that, because when people talk about the clairs, I think physical mediumship is misunderstood.
Oh yeah.
So who's going to talk on that? You probably have lots of information about that one. Or Dan, both there. Or who knows? Melanie, who's got it?
Go ahead.
Go for it, lady.
Okay, I'm like,
You go, Than.
I know. I thought I'm going.
You know what? I want to write this down because I've never been able to truly explain physical. Did you said physical mediumship, right?
Yeah.
Physical mediumship, quite right.
I think
So.
there's a lot of aspects to it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There's many different ways, to physical mediumship. You have the traditional, and I did a little research because I loved, oh my gosh, why did I? Eusapia Palladino. She's old. This is from the 1800s. She's one of she's actually a very famous medium. She was the most tested medium, and back then they did the seances. So a lot of right. The physical mediumship happened much in the during these sessions, right?
Right.
I myself, and it's funny because Melanie was there when we were in Portland, and we did a group seance, and it was pretty powerful. And of course, my mouthy mother came in, and so did my grandmother, and everybody's starting to talk in the group. Remember, like my mother.
Oh my God!
I was getting yelled at from all people. No,
it was much nicer than that.
Yeah, it was beautiful, but it was funny because I had taken her glasses and a penny because she always collected pennies, and so I took a penny and I put it in. It was like this plastic glasses container, and I put it in my shirt. And at the time, it was very interesting because I was I couldn't get myself out of this trance state, and I was like literally frozen. And I can't remember exactly what was going on at the time, but all I can feel is this penny slamming against this glass case trying to get out, and I kept hearing boom, boom, boom. So it was like, physical mediumship is exactly what you're, what we're talking about is where there's these big physical sort of experiences happen.
Right.
A lot of time in these older seances, chairs would go fly across the room. They always had the trumpet, right? That's like the signature seance thing where you would hear the trumpets. People would project
the ectoplasm.
Ectoplasm.
Yeah, it would come out their nose or their mouth.
Yes. And it's actually
orifice.
Every orifice.
But
And
I'm serious. Then.
What?
That was a big deal back then because that was kind of a lot of what physical mediumship was. And like when I actually read about that, and I also think it was in Messages from Silver Birch. I don't know if you've read that, but that book it was also that. On the other side, they were also developing how to communicate with us.
Yeah.
So ectoplasm was a way, but it was really rough on the medium.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, how could it not be?
Now that's not common anymore, but it's still done.
there's a Netflix documentary, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but
Life After Death.
Yeah. And they started talking about it, but it wasn't a very well. I didn't think it was a very well done.
Yeah, especially when they talked about the physical medium, and she would go in that box.
Yeah.
And lock herself up, and then be stuck because they're so
weird, but
right. And and that's how some people do it in Europe is like the medium will go into a box and they chain her up. And it's like this.
Yeah.
Really strange.
She was like from the Netherlands or something.
Yeah.
It's like to make sure she wasn't like doing anything, so they all knew that she wasn't. So, but I thought that was really weird too because I'm like a little barbaric.
Well, but they went through this whole big thing where they explained it, but then they didn't show. Obviously, they couldn't show because everything's done in the dark. But they didn't show anything, and then they didn't say anything at the end, and we're left hanging, and I really that bothered me.
Absolutely. And how many of the images that you ever see when you're looking at those old photos where they're projecting ectoplasm are actually real?
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that would fake this. I mean, you can even see it's like, okay, that's gauze.
Yeah. Right.
Cotton. And it's not really.
Right.
But it, that doesn't necessarily make a physical a mediumship experience. I mean,
So if you're in a room with a whole bunch of mediums or light workers, whatever, and you start to do table tipping, is that considered physical mediumship?
Yes, and well, if you're tipping the table, then no, because that's cheating.
No, I mean like
Yeah.
like really doing it. Yeah, no, yeah.
No, absolutely.
That's totally,
Yeah, because that's
And
physical.
Eusapia used to do that all the time. Like the biggest thing about Eusapia is that she was considered a fraud. And what bothered me, and this is why I did the research on it, this whole thing, is because she was the most tested medium at the time. And think about what she would have to do. She has to make the, she would have, she would write in the air, and then another person would have a paper. And these are people testing her, so nobody's in on it.
Right.
A piece of paper flipped upside down, and then when they pick it up, it's what she wrote in the air. Stuff like that. Knowing, stuff.
Right.
Projecting. Even like people's like almost channeling through people. I've heard too, like other people, which is really strange, but like all of those kinds of physical manifestations, even spirits, spirits manifesting, they did like spirit molds a lot of the time. So they would put like clay out, and then it would be a physical manifestation of a hand or of a face.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I think there were. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask a question to switch it. So finish up because I have a question to go on that. Or if you're ready, it has to do with trance.
Go for it.
And now you know in trance.
Tony does
or
trance.
Seances. I know this is right up your alley, Lauri. And in the idea of when you're in a trance and that voice is coming out of you, where you see the transformation of the being. Now, do you consider that physical mediumship, or is that something else? So how is that, just for people to understand, how that works?
That trance.
Yeah, I think that's a whole separate thing. Yeah,
Right, so
trance mediumship.
So when the overlay, then just because it's confusing, so I'm trying to help people to not be confused by it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more about physical mediumship is that physical manifestation.
Yes. Okay.
Even apports, things that appear
like
or disappear.
A coin dropping out of nowhere.
Right.
Would be physical mediumship.
Yeah.
Rocks, flowers, objects, like in history, or if you read about this stuff, those are the types of things that would drop out of the air, or they'd be in people's laps when when everything was over. So like literal physical things, if you think of it that way.
So, and it's only during that session then. So like, because let's just say, I don't know, I'm making this up. This isn't a real story, but like, if like, all of a sudden, let's just say I walked outside right now and laying on my dining room table was a feather. Would that be considered physical mediumship? But that, or is that just spirit talking to me?
It could be an apport. Yeah. If you are intentionally doing that, I would say that's mediumship. But a lot of times, things like that appear. Just the other day, I was so frustrated that I couldn't find a remote, and I promise you, I looked in that area, and I knew it was gone because I was mad, and it came back when I calmed myself down. Like things like that happened, and I think that's more of an apport. My only, like I said, my only experience with physical mediumship was that one experience in Portland where, the Penny was like trying to get out of the box.
Yeah,
but
I remember you after that. You were like, "Oh
I was
God!"
I couldn't even move. I was
remember,
literally, I was like, just what's the word I'm looking for?
Frozen.
Gobsmacked.
Yeah, it was crazy. I couldn't physically move my body except for my hands were going like this out of control. Like I didn't have control of my body. And that was interesting. And I would say that's physical, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the trance, it's that channeling and just allowing, not just channeling the message, but also them utilizing your voice and changing it. And
Yeah.
I love that you pointed that out, Melanie, about what the Silver Birch book, because that's right. The spirits on the other side also, they have different language. It's not actually language, it's a vibration. So they don't speak, they
Right.
don't call each other by name. It's that vibration.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like trying to speak through an English speaking person and you are speaking Chinese or something else, right? Because
Right.
So they do have to they do have to sort of train just as we do here.
I remember
And
seeing.
they also,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna continue with that real quick. They also, within that book, it said like they they evolved as we evolved. So they kind of had, like we as humans would have to understand or evolve to where we can receive. And that was how it was back then. And so, like, as we would evolve to be able to, and probably vibrate higher, and the earth vibrate higher,
Yeah.
we would be more apt and more able to receive messages vibrationally and
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
took time for us to get there, and time for them to like figure out how to get us there, how to get through to us, just
Yeah, and
like
that's
a
fun.
cooperation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that just kind of goes with what we said, what we were talking about earlier. I don't know if you were here, but like when we talked about when people pass, we always grow. And so we're always developing. And, we may not right off the bat be able to channel our voice through somebody, but we eventually learn, right? Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, Laura. I think you were trying to say something.
No, what it was interesting. I was just wanted to say that the first time I ever saw trans mediumship was Tony Stockwell, and the way he did it was freaking insane. It was so cool. He had this like red light. Have you seen him do that? But so he had this red light, and if I remember correctly, it was because this was a long time ago. He had it like under, like in front of him. Oh, sorry, in front of him and on the floor, and it was coming up or whatever. But what was amazing, and so we were all like, why does he have the red light? What is that? And because it was all dark in there except for the red light. And all of a sudden he starts talking. His voice literally changed, right? Completely. Because it's not like he's got a real deep voice, but he doesn't have a real high voice, but it changed. It was a deep voice. And it was like somebody, and I want to say it was somebody he brings through periodically, and I can't remember who that is.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, right. Okay, so anyway, then so we're all just like, ooh, that's really cool. Then all of a sudden, his face changed. Okay, and Tony Stockwell, let's just say his face looks like this. His face looked like this. I'm making that up, but Gina, you know what I'm saying? It was like his face completely changed, and I was like, that is the coolest thing. I want to do that.
I just have a quick question. Rachel put up a really great question. So if they don't want to evolve on the other side, is it harder for you to connect to them?
Well, no, it's not harder. It's just that they don't progress. And unfortunately, yeah, they may hold on to guilt. They may hold on to all those negative emotions. So that's sad. Sorry. Go ahead. Anybody else?
Yeah, and a lot of the time, especially if they can't, if they're not vocalizing, what a medium will do is they'll connect with that vibration, and like okay, well, he's not really talking right now. And then you give, there's ways I've done in a few where it's been a very tragic experience, and the spirit was upset, something that they did, obviously. And I will give the energy of that person, and I'll even try to try to heal in some way, depending on a few situations that I've had, and trying to sort of work that out. It is a difficult. It depends on where they're at, right? In their progression.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it also depends on like the individual in front of you too, and the work that they've done too. I believe it has to do in that connection. But for me, so a couple of things is if I can't, so like if I'm trying to read for you, there's nothing wrong with giving me their name and helping me so I can get in a little bit deeper, right? So I don't have to go. So it's okay for you to, or I tell people if you really, like if they're that type of energy, and then bring something in that is theirs that they gave you or connecting with them, and let's use that, and let's use some different things. And then of course for me, my voice, I channel my sound, and through that I'm able to receive all sorts of different things come into me. I think it changes my frequency, it changes the frequency around and everything. And so the longer we're doing this work, we also develop more that allows us to connect with others that before maybe we couldn't have. And I think that that's the case. But not tying ourselves up into rules that, yes, we're to bring in evidence, but I can still bring in evidence, even if you give me their watch to hold and you tell me their name. It's like there is still things there, and that just helps to be a stronger connection. So using those things, every single tool there is, we should use if it is being called for in that situation. A picture, all those things.
Oh yeah,
I would agree with that.
Absolutely, and that you're so right. And sometimes people, like if you can't be there physically, a picture of the person sometimes will really help strengthen that energy for the medium. So next time you get a mediumship reading, maybe take a picture of the person you're trying to connect with, and allow that medium to get a visual. It's very much like what do they call it? Oh my gosh,
I'll look it up.
Psychometry.
Psychometry.
Yeah, psychometry. Yes.
Good job.
I actually love psychometry. It's one of my favorite.
So do I.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
Because the energy is on it, is on the things.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel like a one of those dogs.
I feel like a time traveler kind of, where I'm like, God, like, I don't know. Well, what I would just to answer Rachel's question a little bit again, with what we're talking about, with all of the clairs and all of the ways that we've received messages, I just really think that if a spirit isn't as evolved as if they're not as evolved, then the medium can use all of those different clairs. Like you can use a different way to read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
That's a great question.
Yeah, and that's why I said, so as the sitter, as the person come in, the client, the sitter, so this is my advice to you, so bring with you, even if it's through the internet, have something of theirs or have a picture. Now, you may start out without it, and maybe it's like able to get it, but have those things there because it is completely okay. What is the objective? And that's what I like to break it down to.
Yeah.
What is the objective? What is it you want? Are you out to make me prove that I can do this? Well, okay.
That's one thing.
Yeah, exactly. I want to. Thank you for saying that, Lauri. It's like, I want to do a mediumship reading. Okay, who's in my space? There's a lot of things in your space. There's a lot of energies, your guides, and if you really are looking to get a reading about a somebody that you love or a really specific person, it's better for the for the medium to focus on that person instead of playing that guessing game. And because you will have other spirits come in, and the best chance for you to hone in on that specific spirit, it's to give them that information. Like, hey, I'm looking to connect with my brother. I'm looking to connect, as much information to get a strong connection with them is key. But yeah, I do get that a lot. Is like, okay, who's in my space? All right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you, this person, this person, this
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
We're not going to get a real.
And let me
reading.
just tell you about your childhood trauma.
Exactly.
That's in your energy too. And then they're like, whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So quite frequently, if the sitter says, well, I'm looking to connect with, like, before they even open their mouth, I'm like, oh, like there's someone there. Like they're there when you say it.
Yeah.
So, like,
Absolutely.
Oh, my favorite is always when
spiritual GPS.
the sitter will say, well, yeah, I'm here for a mediumship reading. And I'll be like, well, who is it that you want to connect to? Well, my friend told me not to say a word. And I went, wait, what?
Yeah.
So they said, well, so I'm just not going to talk. And I'm just like, wait a minute. That's not how it.
And here's what I think we can all agree to say. My advice to anyone coming for a reading, first of all, you're spending money on this.
Exactly.
So it's like,
They're like,
are you into it?
get the most out of it.
And I mean this with respect and love.
Yeah.
If you want the show, then yeah, that's one thing. But I always say come with an intent. And that is really important because your intent drives the session.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, well, I have a couple of people, or I don't really have anyone over there I really want to talk to. Great. Now let's get to work. And let's move now to connecting with your soul, with your heart center, and begin to do some other things. Even like we talk about all the time, you want to talk about that job that you really want. Well, let's take a look at why now we can dive into the soul, into some of your stuff, into your because there are reasons maybe you've had opportunities for that job before, but whatever it is, and then taking it there.
Yeah.
So having clarity and at least some idea of what you want. I think it's great to come to a meeting for the experience, but I also think you are paying money for it, and I respect that, and I really do. I honor that. And so I want to help you to get the most out of your session, and that's really important to me.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not, we kind of laugh about that. Listen, when I used to get readings before all of this, and I would do the same thing, like, okay, what am I supposed to say? Nothing. And they're just supposed to know exactly why I'm there. That's not, it's, for the most part, if you come in with an intention, a specific intention, it doesn't mean that you're giving away anything. And by giving a name of a person, or an image or something like that, does a lot of the times, and actually every time I've ever experienced that, is I get a lot more information, a lot more like important information.
Mhm.
So I've stopped with the guessing game. And you know what I mean? So when you don't have to do that, and you're like, okay, so it's this person, and then you get a lot more evidential readings that way.
Yeah.
So
Right. And it saves time.
Yeah, you don't have to be like,
time
okay,
and
give me
energy.
her social security number, and do it within the reading. You don't have to do it beforehand. Stuff like that. Like it's just really important to have that clear intention when you're trying to, whatever kind of reading you get, and it doesn't have to, in fact, none of us want more information than that, because that we don't want to be thrown off either.
But you know what's interesting? I always tell this story because it's so freaking fascinating it's perfect reasoning for going into a reading with an open heart, right? And an open mind, not just an open mind, but an open heart too, right?
Yeah.
So I gave this reading. Yeah, right? So
True though. Good Lord.
Right. So I go to this lady's house and I give her this reading, and it was really clear. I mean, it was her mother came through and it was really a good reading. Like I was, there was a lot of validations, a lot of beautiful messages, the whole thing. And right as I was packing up to leave, she said, you didn't say the one thing that I told my mother to say to you. And I said, oh, what's that? And she said, can you tell me what that is? And I said, no. No, I can't. So like
I know,
her,
it's like, does that discount all of this?
that is exactly what happened. She discounted the entire reading. And I was like, I mean, I didn't say this to her, but all I could think of was, you just got the most amazing messages. And now, because I didn't mention this one little thing.
That is the hardest teaching for us, is we are not responsible.
Yeah,
And this is really
you're absolutely right, Lauri.
My work has changed over the past year, and in some ways it's gotten even more intense. And,
Yeah.
what sometimes the stuff I bring in, usually with people who work with me a lot, right? And the stuff gets more deep, right? It gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And I recently had someone say to me, that really sort of knocked me for a loop. I channeled something in, and I always say to people, please, if you leave, and I do say this, if you leave and you have a question or something is about, please contact me back.
Yeah.
Contact me back.
Yes.
Please don't sit
Should
with
always
it.
do that.
And, and we can, take a look at that.
Mhm.
No, in the long run, that particular session that I channeled in is helping that person to change some really, really heavy stuff. And so it was really, deep, but I don't want you to walk away feeling like you're alone. Please, if it turns something up, then please contact me.
Yeah.
And then I always give a list of things I want you to do,
Yeah.
drink water and do things and those sort of things. So if it turns out to be a deep session, folks, we want to do the right thing by you. And so it's really important to contact us if you have a question or whatever. So that's important.
Yeah.
I love it when people come back with questions, and I love it when they come back and they're like, oh my God, like that's my favorite, where I'm like, oh,
right. And I used to get a lot of people who are like, oh no, that's not at all what's happening. And then every time you get that response back, oh, actually
psychic amnesia.
Yeah. I've done it myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have said it during the session. I'm just like, oh, okay. And then it happens and you're like, oh, geez, so I ever since then, I never doubt spirit.
Yeah.
If I'm seeing something, I'm like, oh yeah, they'll get that later.
And you know what? That's a great point.
Like, I don't know what it is, but they're going to get it later.
That's such a great point, because when you, again, and I know I started off this whole thing saying this, when you give up the session to spirit, and if you just say, work through me, I'm the vessel, if you do that, then that opens up the door for all sorts of really beautiful things, messages and healings and channel, all of that stuff. So that's what's so great about what you just said. I love that thing.
Lauri, you remind me of something so important. So when I first started this, it didn't take me long to realize that, first of all, I have to have faith, and I have to give it up and trust. And trust is the key, right? And then I found I was almost like two people. When I walked in my purple room and work my sessions, I just felt like this sort of, and really in tune. And then I go back to my real life, and and then that is over time. It occurred to me that, Lauri, you're cutting yourself short here. What you have in the purple room when you're doing those clients, you can have all the time, because faith is always, and spirit is always. It's not just like you walk into the purple room, plug into a wall, and say, okay, here I am. And spirit is available to me at all times, not only for others, which was a major teaching in my life. It's that give, and yet I'm not worthy to receive. And so, and when I was able to go, wow, you know, you mean that the divine is here for me always, that this little light of mine really is this little light of mine, and it's bursting with flames. And, you know, it was such a teaching about it, because I don't know, man, I've changed so much through this work, and it is opening up to the divine, to spirit on all levels of my life.
I love that
It
you
literally
just said that.
is evolving.
Yeah, and
Evolving.
I love that you just said that, Lauri. I was just thinking about that the other day about sitting. You know, I used to think, okay, I have to be in this state, and this, you know, I meditate for 4 hours. You know, like, and then and then I walk out, and I'm a normal. No, you know, it just like I've learned that it's, you know, we're always kind of open to spirit, and you know, right? And I will just be having a conversation like, oh yeah, and I'm getting that information, and you know, obviously if you're honing in on somebody else, but you're right, within your everyday life, you know, when you're open to spirit, like it. You know, as a kid, I always felt it, you know, very much. And I, you know, very shy. So I thought I was talking to myself, and you know, whatever. But, and I still do.
Me too. Me too.
But, yeah. but
Except
you know,
when the voice was not my own.
I mean, listen, I would get like good information. I don't know that a 5-year-old could be that philosophical, but you know, like, but you know, now, you know, it feels like second nature. And I wanted to add this one thing. My husband is, he's like, yeah, I felt that intuitively. The other day he's been like really tapping in a little bit and trying to open up to it in his everyday life, which I thought was really
great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and everybody could do it. And you know, it's funny, like we were talking to Annette, and you know, Annette is you know, when you're, you know, doing healings and things like that, I mean, don't you feel like it's just kind of running through you? I mean, right? And do you have that constant connection? Do you, like, when you're doing healing, do you you know, sort of feel that energy coming through, or do you have sort of like this ongoing sort of conversation with it?
I feel the energy coming through, but it's not always the same with every person. You know, sometimes it's stronger. Sometimes there are specific areas of I work from the neck up only, but it impacts like the whole body. And so there's, you know, there's different places depending upon the person where the energy goes, when it resonates through my hands into wherever it goes to, and it's different for different people. But sometimes it's really intense, and sometimes it's very subtle, but then there's something about it that I can tell it's really touching something. I don't know what it is per se until they tell me, oh, and when you did that, this happened, you know. So, you know, it changes, and I just try to stay open to, you know, I have a mantra that I continue to repeat as I'm doing the work, and Divine Mother of all life, take me to that place deep within your womb where I can know nothing and be reborn anew. And
that's beautiful.
That's a mantra that through the Sophia Code. But it's really powerful to just have me be in that place where I know nothing, but everything is born anew that works through me, because it's never exactly the same with any two people. It's never exactly the same with the same person. That I work on more than once. So.
And that's what's fun about this work. Every day is a different day, you know? Isn't that like extraordinary? I love that.
Yeah, and I know we have to go. Yeah, but how many times we have to go by God and say, how many times do you, like, I sometimes go in the session and go, I've never brought this in before.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, I would never do this, right? I would never bring, you know, it's like, because I'm blown away. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, it's just like, it blows me away.
Yeah.
So many times. It's funny because I always like, I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. I really do feel sometimes like, because you're giving it to spirit, like it is funny. Like I'll sit there and go, wow, that was really cool. Like that happened. And, or this, they got this message and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, it's weird how you can project your own kind of thoughts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love that though.
Especially, yeah, I work with people around the world, right? That is, you guys do too. And, people in Brazil and different places, and Dominican Republic and different places. And sometimes I'll bring in something that's so specific to that place, a healing method, a tree, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know nothing. And suddenly it's showing to me and I'm telling them, and they go, oh yeah, that's Rue, or that's this and that. And I'm going, okay.
I will say, I've talked to people that have been doing it 30, 40 years and they're like, they feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, you're always excited and shocked by spirit, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever not be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So it's right at 2 hours, and I have the list of upcoming events on evolveme.com. So you guys, if you're here and you're listening, check out evolveme.com because it's in the beta version right now, but if it's going to be even better than it is now, it's going to be extraordinary. So we are all really excited. All of us are practitioners on there. So please be aware of that. So we have some upcoming events on evolveme.com. Okay. First event is May mental wellness events. Okay. So May is mental health month, and May 16th, May 23rd, and May 30th, there are free events for mental wellness, and they highlight the mind, the body, and the soul. So check that out. That's
tomorrow.
yeah, I was going to say that. Isn't that tomorrow? Yeah. Cool. Free. Oh, it's free. Right. It's free, you guys. It's free. Okay.
And I'm going to be hosting. I'm going to do a better job than I did tonight.
You did a great job tonight. Oh my God.
I love it.
You're so sweet. Oh my God. You did a fantastic job. And I can't wait to see tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be great. All right. So every Monday night is the Evolving View at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. So please join us. There's some of us that are pretty much here every week, and then some people come and go. So you're going to get different perspectives every week. So it's a lot of fun. Okay. Number 3.
Core people here.
Right. All right. So then number 3, and this is really cool. I wish that when my daughter was young, we would have had something like this. The Starseed School, the Children's Intuitive Development Program with Nikki Toon. And that is going to be on May 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern. That is extraordinary. That is extraordinary because there are a lot of children that have gifts and they have no idea how to maneuver through it. And imagine going through hormones and dealing with all of this. So this is going to be extraordinary if you have a child that yeah, right. Did you guys see my hot flash? My chest and neck turned beet red. And I'm like, I had the fan on like 3. Jeez. Okay. Sorry.
Now I wish the Starseed thing would have been there for us.
Yeah, I know, right?
Here would it have been if someone was open or supportive? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That,
We had, do you remember the show Psychic Kids with
Yes.
Chip Coffee?
I love it.
I love him. I love him, and I love that show. That show is what helped my daughter understand herself. So that was cool. Okay, so anyway, so let me get through these. All right. Then we have yours truly with Manifestation Madness, and that is on May 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 5 Pacific. And it's going to be like a round table of manifestation stuff. I'm using my book, all the principles from my book, Manifestation Journal for Beginners. And we're just going to go through and we're going to figure out how individually you can figure out the best methods for you to start to really, truly manifest your best life. And I'm super excited about that. So that workshop is coming up on the 31st. And then Lauri and Sam's, let's not forget that, every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, they have an ongoing group called We Are Family. Okay. And that is the LGBTIAQ plus. Boom, I did it right. Well, I have it written down. So, right. And it's an extraordinary, Lauri, talk about it for just a real quick minute.
This is an opportunity for queers to come together, and all of us have been wounded, and I mean everybody in some way has their own wounds and their things. For many of us around our spirituality, around religion in particular, we've been told what we can do and what we can't be, and we have been wounded in so many ways, and this is our chance to share our own relationships we have with spirit, and to help each other to create relationships, to grow those relationships. I tell you, we have the most amazing conversations in that group. I mean, and you know what? No one said that you have to be serious with spirit all the time, and that's a good thing.
So interesting. Oh, go ahead. No, you go
I was
first.
just going to say, and I was there for the making of this, and I like to, pat myself on the back, and just how amazing. Of course. No, I seriously, just the dynamic of Lauri and Sam. They're two from two different types of generations of queers, and they really just kind of, and I always make the joke, like they cover the gamut, and I what they have created is just such a beautiful experience.
And what is being drawn to this is so not only intergenerational, but inter everything. I mean, it's like, it's amazing. So many people from different cultures, different religions, races. I mean, and this is so cool. And when I'm in there, Annette and I've talked before about being able to have the real conversations so that we can really connect with each other. That is what is happening in that group for queer people, as it needs to happen everywhere. But and so we're just starting out. But please, if you're queer and you want to come, then come. We look forward to it.
So I have to say, oh my gosh. So I was having a discussion with my daughter yesterday about the word queer. I love that word. I've always loved that word, even before it had anything to do with being queer, right? And my daughter is, I guess you could say she's queer, right? And I said, well, I like that word too. So can I be like queer-ish, even though I'm not gay? I want to be queer-ish.
No, you can be a queer ally.
You can do whatever.
I'm a queer LA.
Yeah. Well, and this is what's fun about the group, because honestly, anyone who's been with me for a while knows I'm actually seeing the word queer normal now.
Yeah.
But for a while I'm stumbling over it because I never liked the word when I was young. That is not a word from my generation. And
bad connotation.
Yeah.
Really?
Because
I feel like we're in the same generation, Lauri. That blows my mind, because I love being queer because it's weird. Yeah. It's like, and that's me.
Yes, but
I mean, that's the official definition.
The queer is being, odd, right?
Yeah.
But to be, but think about that in terms of owning that word in that way, and that's it's matter of ownership. We can go off on the whole thing. But
I love that. Yeah.
And that's true. And we could have a whole conversation about terms like witches and everything like that when it comes to mediumships and spirituality. There's an ownership for you.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started on that. Yeah. If I hear the word witch hunt one more time.
So anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
Come on in, kids. Love you.
Okay, so anyway. All right, and then finally in June, and I don't have the date, so Annette, maybe you could tell us, the Sophia Code with Annette Green. What is this about? And do you have a date?
It starts on June 3rd.
Okay.
It's a 13-week course. It's on Saturdays.
Okay.
Saturday afternoon, and it's a journey through the codex called the Sophia Code, and it's meeting the 8 revealed key code mentors that are feminine. The 8 feminine key code mentors.
Oh wow!
Ascended masters that include Kuan Yin, White Buffalo Woman, Green Tara, Hathor, Isis.
Oh my God! I'm so interested in that. So it's Saturdays. Wouldn't you know it's Saturdays? What time on Saturdays?
I think it's at 2, from 2 to 4.
And that's Eastern?
Time zone.
That's her. I think it's. Wait. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You're Central, so it's at 3, right? So it's at 3.
How much I love us.
Let you know next week.
Us and our time zones. Oh my God.
Absolutely. Very excited about that. That's
Okay. And for those people on the West Coast, I've been thinking about this, and I have to try and do some things at a later time. I feel so bad. You guys just get out of work and suddenly have to jump on, and I do feel bad about that. But it's hard because by the time I hit 9 o'clock, I want to go to bed. But yeah.
Well, you know what? You can do both. So I mean, that's what I have to deal with. Because I would prefer to do stuff at 5 p.m. my time, right? But it's 8 o'clock, so it is what it is, So
Just know that there are 5 slots open for each Sophia Circle. So if this one fills up, then I can just create another one for a different day or a different time on the same day, because it's really intense and there's a lot of discussion that goes on, and I want everybody to get the most out of it. So I don't want the group to be too big. So each group is going to be 5 people.
Okay, so you can't just go to one and then not go to another one and then come to, you can't just go back and forth. You have to go to the. Okay, all right. Gotta go. Right. Okay, got it.
It builds on each other.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm so glad you explained that because I had no idea what it was. So thank you for that. So.
That's awesome. I especially your energy and I'm definitely interested in that.
Yeah.
Read up on Sophia Code.
Me too.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you all so very much. It was just another wonderful time with you guys, and thank you all for watching us. And definitely check us out again next week, 8 p.m. Eastern /
5 p.m. West
Coast.
West Coast 5 p.m.
and 7 p.m. Central.
There you go.
All right, love you all. Love you.
Have a great night, everybody.
See you soon, Melanie, in real life.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh my God.
I
Bye.
gotta get back to driving.
Oh, no.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.